Hi, everybody. I'm Molly Cash. I'm the COO of the ISA. Welcome to ISA Presents. We are going to talk about pitch decks. As you know, there are a lot of people here today. We are all super excited to learn and hear from Luke and Shayna about pitch decks. It's a very important piece of your marketing materials, how to sell your screenplay, your TV show, your pitch. More events coming up. We have next Friday is our table read event, and we are reading scenes from The Surveillance of Ordinary Things, which is the award-winning script by Susan Brunig. She won the Table Read My Screenplay competition. So we're going to do a reading of a bunch of those scenes. We're going to do a Q&A. It's going to be fantastic. It's a really great script. I encourage you all to come and watch. And then, so that's August 13th, if I didn't say that. And then scene writing with Max Tim, this is one of Max's classes he's giving, is August 25th.
So thanks, Molly. So welcome everybody to this webinar called Why You Should Have a Pitch Deck and How to Create One. And we have our lovely guest, Luke, who has spent a lot of time putting together a really, really amazing presentation for you guys. I make my own pitch decks, so I have a little bit of experience. I'm certainly no designer. So if there's anyone just like you, it's me. Me and my writing partner just dove in and started doing it. And the more you do it, the more you get better at it. You don't have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to hire somebody to do it. So that's why we're here today. We are going to show you what they're all about, why you need one, why you should have one, and how to do it.
Hey guys, how's everyone doing? My name's Luke. I do this for a living. I'm a graphic designer and a writer. Pitch decks. It is something I think most people think is pretty elusive, and they seem to think it's this crazy, far off, distant thing that is not achievable and something that only people in the industry know. And it's not. It is, I mean, it's words and pictures on a page to show what your project is.
The basics of it. Words and pictures.
But I mean, that's all the movie poster is if you put it down to it. But there's some other things going on, obviously. So a little bit about me. I run a website or a company called Pictures & Co. Website's just there. We're going to run through some other stuff later. Little caveat I want to cover for this is that I design decks for all different types of projects. So you can see down the bottom there, I design features and TV shows and short films and documentaries, animation, reality. It's, it runs the gamut from all kinds of things. So some of the stuff we're going to cover today is going to not apply to you. If you're an indie filmmaker trying to put a production together to get financing, some of the stuff that references TV shows isn't going to be what you need to know. The same as if you are, putting a TV series together, there's stuff about a reality competition that is not going to matter to your deck. Mm-hmm. So anything else on that, Shayna?
No, I think you just have to, one of the things that we're going to talk about is that pitch decks are your own design essentially, but there are specific pages that you can add and mix and match, but they're not all the same. So not everything's going to apply to you, and you can make your deck as big or as small as you want. So yeah.
Cool. So what is a pitch deck? It is a document that is part visual and part text. And at the top there, you'll see that I have the word clearly highlighted. And I think that is where, for me anyway, you should try to land with a pitch deck. Whether you are trying to get across what your documentary is about and what it looks like, or whether you're trying to get across what your feature film looks like, the goal should be that whoever is reading it can understand it clearly. And if they don't understand it clearly, then you haven't achieved what you were trying to do with your pitch deck. In the same way that if you're writing a script, you can see this whole movie in your head. You know what this movie is, but if you can't articulate that on a page to the people who are reading your script, then you haven't really done what you set out to do. And that's what I think a pitch deck should do. I think it should set out to relay what is in your head visually to whoever is reading it. So like Shayna said at the end there's the last little note that says be unique. And there are no rules about this. You can literally do whatever you want within reason. I've had people who want to do all kinds of crazy things in their deck, and I've had to persuade them away from that. But within reason, the goal should be to make this it should be your project. It should look like what you want it to look like.
Yep.
And then the last note on there is that this is a newer development. I mean, going back 20 years, pitch decks were not a thing. And they've sort of risen to the point now where a lot of people will not even look at your script or your project without one, which, I mean, is both good and bad depending on who you are.
Yeah.
So anything else, Shayna?
Yeah, and one way, a pitch deck can get you a meeting, and another way it's something that somebody wants after the meeting. So I don't think it's going to go away. You guys are all here obviously because you're interested in learning how to make one. So yeah, they're not going to go away. They're just going to get bigger. So might as well learn how to do it now.
Yeah. So these are just a couple of examples. Obviously, I'm sure a lot of people know Adventure Time. That is the cover from the Adventure Time pitch deck, which you can find online. If you Google Adventure Time pitch deck, it shows up. The one on the far right, Monotalk, that is one I'm sure a lot of people have seen because that is the original Stranger Things pitch deck. That's what it was originally called. The other stuff is various things from my own work. Most of them are fake. I sign NDAs with all my clients, so I can't actually share their work. So what a lot of my website and a lot of the work I can share is just samples that depict what I'm trying to go for. So the confusion in the name of the word pitch deck. So a lot of people come to me and say, I want a lookbook. And I say, okay, so you want a document that is just visuals. And they say, no, I want a document that is visual. I think the reason that confusion exists is that lookbooks have been around for longer. Traditionally speaking, they are what a director or someone involved in production puts together before filming to try and convey the tone they hope to achieve in a project. So you're making a new film and you're the director attached, or you want to be the director attached, and your vision is that this film should look like this. Lookbooks mostly are purely visual. There is space for some text, but in terms of talking about a pitch deck, we're talking about a document that is a lot heavier in the text. Something that is, I'm trying to think of the word here, but it's not a lookbook. And then when we look at TV series Bible, people come to me and say, I want a TV series Bible. And same problem. I say, so you want a 10 to 50 to 100 to however many pages you want document written words. And they say, no, I want a thing with words and pictures. I said, well, that's a pitch deck. Right. And not that the words aren't interchangeable. People in the industry have come to me and said the same thing. They've said, I want a lookbook. But a TV series Bible, again, you can go to the internet and you can search TV series Bible, and there is all kinds of different people's Bibles out there for different shows. And again, it's a huge written document. It has everything in there that the cast and the crew and the writer's room needs to know in order to continue to make a TV show about that. So again, I will sometimes say a pitch Bible, which is, again, it's a pitch deck. It's just a different name for it.
Right. Yeah, I think over the course of even the last year, it's okay, you can go to the next one. Just over the course of even the last year, I think the confusion is starting to come together where it just becomes, even if it's not for pitching purposes, you can still call it a deck. But I certainly called things a lookbook and I wasn't sure. So I think it's very safe to just call a document like this a pitch deck. And however long it is, that's what it is. Yeah,
cool. So again, I'm back to that. The purpose of your deck should be to clearly depict what you're trying to do. Now, I think people think that pitch decks are this miraculous, if I have a pitch deck, I'm going to sell my show or I'm going to sell my movie. And in reality, it's just another foot in the door. It is not, I'm going to create my pitch deck and it's going to, just like writing a script isn't going to get your script made. This is something else to show other people how you envision your project. And on that, these 3 pictures are here for a particular reason. And again, I'm just talking about clearly depicting your project. So we look at the first picture, we understand that's a sci-fi. We look at the second picture, we know that's a comedy, and we know the third picture is a horror. There is no wishy-washy, I don't know what the tone of those 3 things is. Right. And that's what I mean when I say clearly show what your project is.
Right.
So we're going to cover this a little bit on the next slide as well. But I think some people don't know that there's different reasons you would create a deck. So if you're an independent filmmaker, or even if you're a production company that's trying to find funding, you will create a deck to go out to further into investors. Or if you're an independent filmmaker looking to apply for grants, so you would be putting a deck together to show them why they should invest or why you should get the money to make your film. If you are trying to pitch your project to a network or a production company, your goal is to show them why they should buy this. And then the third reason is to attach talent. So things in this industry get sold because talent is attached. You attach a director, which then attaches a producer, which can then attach another actor, and it all builds and spitballs from there. So that's an important aspect to look at.
Yeah, it's a simple way to send something out, so somebody doesn't have to spend 2 hours reading a script. They can open your deck and look at it for 15, 20 minutes. Hopefully you get them on that long, and get an idea and a sense of, oh yes, I do want to read the script.
Yeah. So this may be the most important slide in this deck. So I am a designer who is paid to make pitch decks for a living. And my advice is that if you don't have a specific place you are currently looking to take your deck, if you don't have agents and representatives, if you're not an independent filmmaker trying to finance, if you're not a production company looking to take your project out, then I don't think you need to pay a designer. I think that one of the most important reasons you should be making a deck at this stage, if you're not ready to do those things, is that this is a skill set. It's the same as if you're a screenwriter and you've never put together a one sheet or a one page, or you've never written a treatment, if you're writing a TV show and you've never written a whole series Bible, you should definitely sit and do those things. And then adding to that, I think for me personally, writing a pitch deck and making a pitch deck helps create this clear vision of your project, or a clearer vision of your project. If you're going to go and pitch to someone in the room, I think maybe not necessarily building a pitch deck, but learning how to pitch your project, learning how to condense this 60-page or 90-page or however many pages your script is into this cohesive kind of marketable content is a great thing to do. So with that in mind, I think a lot of writers don't approach this from that perspective. So at the bottom there, I've written that you should think of this as marketing or PR. Not that it's not a creative process as well, because I think a lot of people get confused when you say it's marketing or it's PR. But I think in the same way, you have to think of your log line is marketing and PR. If your log line is not snappy or not interesting, you haven't done your job with your log line. So yeah, that's what I would have to say on, do you need a pitch deck? Possibly, etc.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, let's keep going. I think I have something to say on the next slide.
Okay. So just looking back to the different reasons you would need decks, sort of touched on it before. If you are pitching to a production company or a network, or someone who is looking to buy your story, the key there is your story. Your goal with your deck should be to paint the clearest picture possible of what this story is, why they should want it, and all the rest of that. And I have a little caveat at the bottom there, which mentions that if you have talent or team or talent attached, that's going to help sell it, which is how a lot of production companies and people in the industry would take out a project. They would say, we have this brand new TV show, we're taking it out with this showrunner and this director attached, or, you know, but if you don't have those things, then I would say your goal is to focus clearly on story. If you are pitching to investors or to grants, you are pitching the story as well as money. If these people need to know why they should invest their money into you, why aren't they going to invest it into someone else? So you need to know, they need to know who's involved, they need to know what the investment is, they need to know why it's a good investment. The other reason is that you're trying to attach more talent and team. I just did a deck for a production company. They have a story developed from original book IP, intellectual property, and they are trying to attach a director. That is their first step they're trying to do now. So they have this story, they have a writer attached. It was a New York Times best-selling book. And before they take it out to the industry, their first step is to attach a director, someone they know that can then bring in actors and bring in additional producers and things like that. And then this last one is what I'm going to hand over to Shayna for, because I haven't really dealt with this. Most of the clients I have are taking their things out to the industry in a different way. But Shayna?
So for me, I right now do not have an agent or a manager. So all of my networking and all of my meetings are just from straight up reaching out through a friend of a friend. You know, all of the stuff that we talk about on every ISA thing that we do is about networking. So sometimes to get a foot in the door, you can say, I have this, if you send a log line or, you know, and you get some sort of interest, you can say, I also have a deck. Do you want to see that? Because again, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, it's really hard to get someone to read a script at this point. If you have something that they can quickly look through, understand the tone, understand what you're trying to do, it's a lot easier to get somebody on board and excited. And this is a way for you to show your excitement and your dedication to your project before asking somebody to read a whole script.
Yeah, cool. I think that was it for that. Let's keep moving. So, again, I feel like a lot of this conversation is just going to be me putting caveats and stuff. You don't have to include anything specific in your deck. No one is going to say, they might say, why didn't you do this? And it might help you to include specific things. But at the end of the day, it's the same as there are certain rules for screenwriting. I would say there are certain not so hard rules for this, but at the end of the day, you can do almost anything you want to get your project to be appealing to those who are going to see it. So on the left here, I think the third thing down, I've written, I often include pages in pitch decks that won't ever be in another deck. And some of the examples I had of that, if I just refer to my notes here. So I had a client who was pitching a drama series, and it revolved around an app. And so we did a whole page dedicated to that app and how that app worked and why, you know, the story they were pitching revolved around the app. So we included a page about the app. I did another story that was about time travel, and the time travel device was a very unique part of the story. So we added a page that was about that time travel device. And again, I'm never, you know, unless I do another time travel thing, I'm never going to add that particular page to another deck. I've done a couple of COVID safety pages in the last year, which again, hopefully moving forward, I don't have to add those into decks anymore. If we, you know, so I think the other thing I wanted to add here is that at the moment I'm working with a production company that pitches game shows and TV shows and reality shows, and they're using their decks in a way that I hadn't previously experienced. They're taking their decks into the room and using it like an old school PowerPoint presentation. So the pages they're using are very minimal. They have 15 words on a page. It says, this person does this, or et cetera, et cetera. And again, it's all just pivoting to what works for your particular project, which is, I hope, what everyone will take away from this whole thing.
Right. And here's the great thing about making your own pitch deck, guys. You can add pages at any time that you want. You don't have to go back to a designer and ask them to add a page and pay more money. If you're doing it yourself, you just go into your file and you add a page, or you take a page out, you know? So that's, I think, one of the main reasons we do our own at this point, and why we started doing our own, is just that control. Same way as, you know, if you build your own website, you don't have to go to your website designer to add pages. You just do it yourself, you know?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think some of these are fairly explanatory. Everyone knows what their cover is. I would just say, make sure it captures. Again, as I move through the rest of this, we're going to talk about tone a lot. Your cover should capture your tone. That is all I will say on that, and we'll keep going. Again, logline, make sure if you're including a logline page, make sure your logline is good. Make sure your logline covers what your story is about. So format and genre. One of the things I see quite often is people who don't include their format or their genre on those first couple of pages. In which case I'm left wondering, am I reading a feature script? Am I reading something that is a documentary? If you don't tell me in those first couple of pages what genre and format I'm looking at, it can be confusing.
Yeah.
I think I've talked about it later in the pitch, but if you're pitching a political, oh no, it's there, political drama, yeah, if you're pitching a political drama and you don't tell me it's a drama, I could perceive it as a comedy. So just make sure you tell people what your project is. The intro and the pitch section we're going to cover a little bit later. And then synopsis and story. Hopefully that's fairly self-explanatory. It is just summarizing your story, whatever that may be.
In the least possible.
Yes. Yeah, that is important. I cover it later as well, but yeah. In your synopsis and your story, try to be as concise as possible. Words and pages and pages and pages of text. It's daunting, and people are going to look at it and think that it's daunting, and they're probably not going to read it, unfortunately. Yeah. Again, I cover characters a little bit later, but make sure you list your characters in order of importance. If your lead character turns up, if you have 3 minor characters on one page and then your lead character is on the next page, I'm going to be confused as a reader, and I'm going to think that that major character is a minor character. And if you have supporting characters that really don't influence your pitch, my advice is to leave them out. If they don't influence how someone's going to read this story, they don't need to be there. Again, the world, we need to understand where this story takes place. Is it an alien planet? Is it in the 50s? Is there anything about your story and where it takes place that is going to change how your story works? Mm-hmm. Again, tone and style, we're going to cover a lot throughout this deck, but that is basically the look and the feel of your project. Visual pages, it's pages of images. I don't really know how else to, that's fairly simple.
Like a nice break. Sometimes you just want a nice break from text. Just yeah, pictures.
Exactly. So themes and issues is one people, sorry, sticky fingers. Themes and issues is something people ask me about a lot. And I think sometimes you need pages that specifically address your themes and issues. Sometimes you will cover it in your deck without having to give it its own page. If you are talking about what's a good story? I don't know if you
have, say you have a story, but also the underlying theme of that is some sort of like environmental thing. I mean, you may want a whole page that's all about how this hopefully will impact environmentalism and make a shift or something, you know, like how are you changing the world essentially, or like what are you trying to teach people or get people to ask questions about? I mean, that's when you're writing your script, you should already know within your script what your theme is. So it's pulling something out from that in a concise way of saying, oh yeah, and here's really what this is about.
Yeah, cool. I know I had a point for this. So on the end of that, the themes and issues that are you addressing, I made these notes for myself so I would remember stuff. Are you addressing any current issues in the world? So again, back to that deck that I did that had the app in it, one of their big themes was technology and social media. And so we didn't have to do a specific page that addressed that. It was very prevalent throughout the entire deck, and it was made clear that that was an issue that they were looking to address. Comparables are just similar titles. You're either using them for tone references, or if you're trying to pitch an independent film or something, you are using them for budget and success references. How are we doing on time? I think we should, maybe do you want to skip ahead or speed this up?
Yeah, I think this stuff, I mean, I think this page is kind of more about if you're at that point where you maybe have a producer on board and you're adding in budget and things like that. So this will be on the PDF, but yeah, let's skip past this one.
Okay, cool. All those things should hopefully make sense. Team is who's on your team. Statements is statements about the project. Budget is budget.
That one is really important though. A why, like a why now. If you're also, if you're a you know, unproduced or newly produced screenwriter who's trying to maybe direct or anything like that, having your own statement of like why me, or why this project, or why now, or why I created this is a really valuable thing to think about. And it's hard, but it's good to put in there if you have room.
Yep. Yeah. So that would be the one thing on this page that I would say for everyone is important. Your view on this project is very important. Yeah. Just the end there, make sure you include your contact info. I've seen people not have contact info, and a deck can get lost, or you know, they can forget who they received it from. So moving on. So when you're looking specifically at TV, you need to cover what is driving your story. Let us know if we are dealing with a serialized TV show. Let us know if we're doing something procedural. How do your episodes work? Is there an overall season arc you're looking at? Again, back to the same sort of thing as themes and issues. This might not be a specific page. If you're covering a lot of information about your characters and about this world and about how it works, hopefully the person reading it will understand what your story engine is and what is driving the story. You know, again, episodes is something people ask me about a lot. I have done different length of episodes depending on the project. I've done kids TV shows where we've done 1 sentence ideas for episodes, and then I've also done you know, full paragraphs of an entire season for different projects. And again, the caveat, it honestly depends on what your project is. Future seasons and franchise, again, where does this show go from after season 1?
Right.
So this is where I know everyone is probably dying to get to images and pretty pictures and stuff. But I want to pause and go, we're going to do, I think hopefully it's a couple of pages. I forget at this point, but the number one thing that people come to me with is problems in their writing. And we're going to cover a couple of those different problems, but don't think that a pitch deck is just pretty pictures and you can throw any words you want on it. Really, really think about your words. That is my advice. So these are the biggest common mistakes I see. So too much text or waffling text. And what I mean by that is just that someone will give me 1,000 words and of a thousand word synopsis. And it's not until I get to the end of that synopsis that I even understand what it's about. And so in the same way that you, when you write a script, you do a draft, you do a second draft, you do over and over again, figure out what in your pitch deck is excessive. Where do you need to cut stuff? Trim the fat, make it as short as possible. But, you know, don't cut out your tone or your writing style, but try and really cut it back to the minimum to get your point across. So missing information. I have read clients' entire decks and gotten to the end and I still don't know what the project is. And I think the biggest note there that I have for people is the same thing when someone reads a script and they don't understand something, it's usually missing information. So when you write a script, the same way you would write a pitch document, you can see this world so clearly and so vividly, and you understand all these little nuanced things, and you know how everything connects. But you have to understand that the reader doesn't. You have to assume they're going in completely blind, and you need to spoon feed them the information. Not like they're stupid or anything, but they just don't know the story the same way you do. If you want them to understand it, you need to literally give them the information. So again, missing information in wrong sections or order. I've also had clients come to me and I read, yeah, as it says, the first 9 pages of a pitch document. And then on page 10, I get to an interesting plot point because it's in their pilot synopsis. And I go, why didn't I know that on page 1 or on page 2? If I had known that on page 1 or page 2, I would have read pages 1 through 9 a lot differently. And we're going to look at some more stuff that covers that later. And then starting strong. Again, I'm going to delve into this in a second, but you need to come out and pitch. You're pitching. It's not a game of baseball or whatever where you're safe. I don't know. What's a sport where you save yourself for the last run? I don't know. You're not trying to save yourself for the very end to do your big reveal. It's not a magic trick. This is give us the goods and give us it straight away.
It's just like an elevator pitch. Like, they say you have 60 seconds to grab someone's attention. Well, cut that down in this world of ADD. Like you have 20 seconds. So somebody's flipping through your deck. They're not going to get to the end to get to the good part. They're going to, if the first page isn't good, they're going to be like,
yeah, it's unfortunate, but I mean, that's how we got here, right? People were sick of reading scripts. So they said, can you give me the information in a shorter format? And here we are.
So on this subject of the problems, from my own experience, I think one tip to throw in there when you're creating your deck is there's no rules for you. And when you create it, there's only what's at the very end, what's your complete project. So lay out 25 pages with all of these things and see where you can combine 2 pages, where you can pull some information up. The other thing is if your synopsis is too long, take out some character stuff that's in there and put that where your character description is. That should be under their description. You can save room there. Same thing in your character description. If your character description is too long and you have plot in there or story, take that out because it should just be about who that character is and what they want. And we're going to get to more of that later. But there are sections that you can pull out and move to different sections so that they fit.
Yeah, that is also very important. Okay, again, I know I'm bugging everyone on writing at this point, and everyone wants to see the pictures, but you really do need to understand this is a writing sample. The amount of time, so I have production companies come to me and with what I say, is this your final text? And they say, yes, we're ready to roll. And I will give them back the first version of the deck and they say, oh, actually, we have these 15 different text changes to make. And so it's not like it's just a new writer thing that happens. It's everyone wants to put the best version of their writing out there. So just remember, it is a writing sample. And then this needs to have some structure to it. It needs to feel like it flows. Don't tell me something, again, it's back to the previous page with this, make sure everything's in the right order. Don't give me something about the characters that doesn't fit before the story, or don't give me, if you start with your synopsis and you're set in a futuristic sci-fi world and you tell me that the Borgons and the elder people are fighting, and I don't know who those people are, or if you tell me the sword of destruction has been, and I don't know what that is, think of, what it is that we need to know before you move on to the next thing. And then again, learning to summarize, take however many pages you have and learn to cut them down, and learn to write them in what is hopefully an engaging manner. We're going to get to this later as well, but learn what people are interested in, learn what is going to pique their interest, You know, if someone reads your deck and says, I was bored at this point, then go, okay, well, that's not an interesting point. I should probably leave that out. Okay, I'm gonna run through this very, very quickly.
Yeah.
This is just rewrites. This whole thing is just saying, write your deck, read it. A lot of people, I don't know if they read their decks. Your deck should read well from start to finish without having any images. So before you start trying to add images, before you start trying to make it all fancy, read the deck, start to finish, edit it again, have someone else read it. In that read it again section, ask people their feedback. Have someone else read it section, have other people read it. Learn what they want and what they don't understand. If someone doesn't understand something, then include something in your deck that clarifies it.
Right.
So we are on to a couple of example formats. Again, I build decks for all different kinds of projects. And I've got these two, and then I've got these three, and then I have two more on the next page. And I'm trying to cover a couple of different bases for how I've formatted some things. So the very first one was an animated children's TV series. It was about the LGBTQ plus people. It was looking for development. So it was a writer who'd written a short, and he and his literary partners were trying to take it out through their agents to pitch it to people. So what we did was that it's kids TV. It was a lot simpler than some other projects. It wasn't a ton of text. We made it very image heavy. We talked about why it was important. And then, you know, it's shorter than a lot of pitch decks. So again, just covering it from start to finish. The format is definitely in there. Not that it wasn't clear, but we made sure we included episode length. Why this matters was a very important thing for this because of the market. The characters there was only 5 characters, so it was very short. Again, when I got to episode ideas, this is the one I was talking about. We had 1 sentence episode ideas. It wasn't full encompassed episodes. It was these characters do this and this happens. It was not a full episode. We also included merchandising in there because it's a kids show, and that is what kids shows do. The second one, to me, this was not even a deck. It was a partial deck. It was what I would normally put on a 1-sheet or a 1-pager, spread out over 6 pages. So we had vital information. We had the cover. We had a very short summary of the story. This was a story that was in the media over the past couple of years. So we highlighted that. We added some links to that, referenced the comparable films, and then we had that why this story statement. Easy, simple. The drama TV series on the left, we had a couple, from memory, we had 2 or 3 actors attached. And the goal here was to set up this story. So again, the introduction and the setup was a big part of, in this particular story, there was a world you needed to understand. So we set the world up first, gave people the log line, gave them the story, and then we established what shows were comparable, went through a couple of character aspects, pilot episodes, future seasons. Again, so the team on this was important. The team involved in this was people who'd produced things before. They had credits, and then they had their statements. Again, why this story, why us, why make it, and then onto their contact details. So here we have 2 completely different independent films. The one on the left is one I'm still working on at the moment, but it's very short in terms of a deck. Again, covering the basics. And the difference between the 2 of these that I remember why I put these in here now. So you'll notice the one on the left has the synopsis first and then the 2 character pages. The one on the right has 4 character pages and then 3 story pages. And these are just examples of a different way you can approach your story and the way you do it. So the one on the left, we did a synopsis, we talked about what the plot was, and then we went ahead and introduced those characters and talked about where they fit in that plot. The one on the right, we approached it in the reverse. So we had these 4 characters who each got their own page, and it was about understanding those characters first and then telling the story.
Right.
And then the reason we have 3 story pages here is because we had very limited text. So if you imagine the 3 story pages as like your 3 acts in a script. So it was act 1 was the setup. Again, this was very little text, but we used the image to sort of show what was happening in act 1. Then we did act 2, and then we did the twist. So I advise people not to reveal your ending in your synopsis where possible, unless I've never had an example of unless, but if there's some reason you feel like you need to reveal the end, you can. But you know, I feel like you're selling yourself short, and the best way to do it is to leave it open-ended, so that anyone who's read the pitch deck goes, "Oh, I wonder how this ends."
And I want to read the script.
And I want to read the script. Yeah. So again, a lot of this is fairly simple. You know, we're talking about representation in the market. We're talking about team bios again.
Right.
The one on the left, again, they had investment information. They had their full budget in there. They had, I think they had their investment info as well. So like if you invest, this is the way our investment will break down.
Right.
Okay.
And those are things like if you're just creating yourself to help you get your script out there, you don't need that stuff right now because you just don't know. So don't put stuff in there that you don't have the answers to and you don't have a professional, you know, if you haven't hired a line producer and you haven't done a proper budget, don't put it in there.
Yeah. Don't make stuff up for the sake of it. It's not going to help you. Actually, that is probably a good. So nope, I cut it. Don't worry, ignore me. I cut that one out. So again, I'm going to summarize all this in one thing and say that at the start of your deck, you should have some kind of hook. You need a tagline or a hook or an intriguing premise, something that is going to grab whoever's reading this. If you are writing a script, you're usually told you've got 10 pages or less. And if you are doing a pitch deck, if someone's not interested on those first 2 to 3 pages, in my opinion, you've lost them. Like Shayna said, I didn't think about it till she said it, but when someone gets a pitch deck, they look at it and I flip through it. I look through the whole thing and then I go back to the start and I read it. So make sure when they start reading it that something on that first page or 2 is really going to grab them.
Yeah. And
I promise we're getting to actual visual stuff soon, people.
And by grabbing them, sometimes that can just be a feeling. So if you do find a really amazing, you know, photo or screen cap from a film or something that you love, or you shot something and you have your photo from your, you know, from your short or from your sizzle that you made and you put that on there, those are reasons to get somebody to look deeper, to read more. Yeah.
So okay. So we are on to actually looking at things.
Yay!
So this is something I had never seen until I started speaking to Shayna like 2 weeks ago, and she said, "Have you seen the Quiet Place pitch video?" And I said no. This is on the Twitter of the dude. Beck and Woods, who were the original writers of A Quiet Place, and this is Tone. This whole thing. Even before they'd filmed a single thing or even sold their script or had anyone else attached, these are stills that they pulled from other movies to try and represent their film. And they did a perfect job. There's more images than this. I think there's probably 15 or something. But these are the ones that I thought were bang on in pulling something from a different film and repurposing it for your own. So again, in terms of what I was talking about on this page with something that hooks you, tagline, sometimes the loudest sound is silent. Okay, what does that mean? I want to know now.
Right.
You know, that is simple. Okay, so this is from a pitch deck called Rocket Dog. Nothing to do with me. I just found it on the internet, and it's interesting. This show did not get picked up as far as I know, but I still think it's a good example. So the image on the left is not the cover, it's the image after the cover. And it's just absurd. A tale of a boy and his crazy rocket-powered dog. That's normal, right? No. And then you get a small synopsis of the show, an introduction, and then in the bottom left corner, bottom right corner here, they're also giving you the format.
Right.
And this, think Lassie meets Beetlejuice in a Hangover for Kids adventure comedy. Again, I don't completely understand what that would be, but I'm intrigued, and I would like to know more. And those two examples are what I mean when I say set up, like set this up, make it interesting, make it something I want to know more about.
Yeah.
Okay, so looking at Stranger Things, I know, like I said, I'm sure everyone's seen the Stranger Things deck. If you haven't, go online, look at it. It is the most common thing people come to me and say is, have you seen the Stranger Things deck? Yes, I have. Everyone asks
Yes,
me
I
that.
have.
Yes, I have. But I think the thing people don't realize about this is why it's good. Everyone's like, oh my God, it's so good. And it is, but the reason is because of their choice. They chose to style their whole deck like an 80s paperback. And that was their selling point. Not that the whole show wasn't their selling point, but they chose to really dive in and hone in on something for their project that helps sell it. So again, if you have something just as unique for your project, you should do that.
Yeah, if you guys look at the Stranger Things deck, I mean, I'll say two things about it. One, it has familiar images from movies from the 80s. So you are automatically brought back in time to that time period, which works for that. The other thing is they committed the whole deck to looking like a paperback. So every page opens and it's cool. You want to look at it because it's cool. 2. 3, on the flip side, they pitched to a lot of places. Not everyone is going to love what you put together, but if you commit to it and you love your project, it's going to get somewhere, you know? So this is a success now, but maybe it wasn't a success back then when they made it, when they started it, because it was very specific. It's really specific and really stylized. If that's the choice you're going to make and that's the show you want to create, then go full on and do that.
Yeah, I mean, what was it? Queen's Gambit took a decade to get made. So
Yeah.
Tis what it is.
Yep.
But anyway, so there's 2 notes on this. This is the first page after the cover. They are giving us the information we need. Again, they are telling us the format. It is an 8-hour sci-fi horror. And then what they've done here, which is what I was talking about earlier, is about setup. It's about knowing what to put first. And in this instance, that whole 3rd paragraph, the feeling of fear and wonder as Elliot approaches the fog-drenched shed in ET, and the rest of that. They're talking about all these moments that everyone knows from these movies, and they've established their tone straight away. They have said it's a love letter to the golden age of Spielberg and Stephen King, a marriage of human drama and supernatural fear. Again, they present this on the first page, and therefore you read the rest of the deck with this image in your mind. You know what this show is because of their first page. And that's what I would, that's the biggest thing I would say is there something you could say in your deck at the start that will change how someone reads the rest of it? Again, I don't know how old anyone is here, but Freaks and Geeks is a wonderful show. If you've never seen it, you should go and watch it.
Absolutely. I 100% agree.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't know all, or if not 90% of those actors on the right now, I mean, they're all very big, famous people. But this is not from their pitch deck, it is from their Bible. And it is Judd Apatow just writing. Judd Apatow, 40-year-old virgin, knocked up, a million other different comedy things. He's a bazillionaire at this point, I'm sure. But what it does is it tells us all the things this show is not. it gives us Dawson's Creek, Party of Five, Beverly Hills. Did any of us really know people like that in high school? And no one did. Maybe some people did, but it nails its premise and its tone. And if this wasn't a pitch Bible, if it wasn't a Bible, I'm sure the rest of the deck would have been just as interesting. They do have a deck as well, but I liked this line a lot more. So we're going to move off of PowerPoint for a second and go to some image stuff. So one of the big questions everyone asks me is, where do you get images from? And
people have asked this already in our questions. So
okay, cool. So hopefully we're about to cover that. So on the left here is just some basic places that I would go to try and find general images. So if you want an image of a forest, these top two are the 1 and 2 places I would go for images. They are both free image websites. Everyone who posts stuff on there is free to download, free to use. Pixabay, I go to occasionally. It's a little older, and at this point has some weird stuff on there that I'm not too about, but people Photoshop stuff and upload it again. But it's still a place to find stuff. Well, didn't mean to do that yet. Google Image is wonderful as well. A lot of people ask what the usage rights in terms of images are.
Right.
So the first thing is that you shouldn't be publishing a pitch deck as your own work. You shouldn't be going out and saying, here's this film that I made.
Right.
I'm still a little not entirely sure what the official word for the usage rights is, but it falls somewhere under editorial use. You can use movies from images. You can use images from, wherever you need to find them. It's not intended to be put out in public.
You're not actually making money or profiting from the actual pitch deck that you're putting together. So you can use images, borrow images, if you will, or pull from these free image places and use them, as long as you're not monetizing or putting it on YouTube that you would get monetary. Anything to do with any sort of profit, that would be a no.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at film and TV images, and we're gonna go onto the internet and do some of this in a second, but Google Image is a wonderful place. If you know what movie you're looking for, search for it and go to town. These are 2 other websites I like to use. They are both paid. I wasn't paid to talk about them, but I do like them, and I will show you why in a second. And then the last place that I think I don't often go here because I have other sources, but if you know there's a scene in a particular movie and you're like, that's the energy, pardon me, that I'm trying to get for this particular page. Mm-hmm. Not that anyone has DVDs anymore, but go to a streaming website and watch the film. And when it gets to that point, take a screenshot and use it in your pitch deck. And that is as simple as that. That's as simple as I can say. Just use it in your pitch deck. So
I'm gonna go backwards because a couple people are talking in the chat about not sending them via email and stuff because of the rights thing. If you're not posting it and saying these are my I created that, what you're showing, you're just doing a screenshot or an image of a movie, that's fine. Like, you can send your deck via email to people. You can use it in that way to try to sell a project. You're not selling that thing. You're not taking their work and selling it and saying it's yours. So you can use it as an example. You can also give a credit underneath. If you pull from a movie, put a little, whatever, this movie, blah, 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 if that makes you feel better. But sending it by email is no one's going to come after you. If you put it on YouTube, if you put it out there as like your work, like this is your work that you're representing in a pitch deck, then that's a no-no. But don't think too deep into this. It's an example of what you want to do. And I think that as a pitch deck, that's what it's saying.
Yeah, I also, on that, don't send unsolicited stuff to people. The same way I'm sure most people here don't send scripts as attachments to people you haven't talked to before.
Yep.
Make sure you query someone first, and if they are then interested, then it's okay to send stuff. Attachments are scary, and sometimes people delete them because it's an attachment. I like to put stuff online in online storage places. If you want to link someone and say my thing is in a Dropbox folder here, or my deck is at this link. Yeah. Are you frozen? No, you're still there.
Sorry. I was reading something, just people are chiming in about copyright and stuff. I mean, do what feels best for you. That's what I'm gonna say. I'm stepping away from that question. If you don't feel good about using images, then go buy your images and put only purchased images in there, and that is fine.
Okay.
Do you?
I've made hundreds of these at this point, and no one's coming for me as far as I know. So anyway, so let's work down this. The left side, we're half an hour in, right? No, an hour in.
Yep. So let's get to some.
Okay. So let's say I'm trying to find this image on the right, this still from 1917. Easiest way to make this happen, we're going to go to Google. And this is something that Shayna thought would be useful because even she said it was new to her. Look, it's here from our last time, 1917 screen cap. And what do you know? Look, here's a bunch of images of 1917. So that is almost the image I had. Now let's talk about image quality. This is horrible. It is blurry, it is small, it is not good. I can't see any of it. What about this one? That looks a little clearer. So I'm sure there's people out there who know how to do image searches and how to reverse image search and stuff. If you don't, we're just going to do a small amount on that. So if you drag this image, if you're already in Google Images, not Google, but Google Images, and if you drag, so again, if you find this image that you like and you drag it over here, it is going to search. It doesn't like that image. That's what I hoped for. Let's use this one then. That looks close. That looks like it's textured like the one I had. Let's grab that and drop it in here. Okay, so it's found up the top here. It'll give you that exact image in different file sizes. Large is what you want all the time. Large is the ideal size of image, and the larger the better. So in the bottom left-hand corner here, it's going to give you the size of the image. There's going to be varying sizes. This one, same size again. That one's a little smaller. Oh, that's got background as well. Cool. But anyway, point being, what I would typically do is right-click this, open image in new tab. It's going to give me just that image, and then you can right-click and save, and you have it. I probably don't want this one because I've just noticed in the bottom corner it has a bunch of popcorn and someone's website address, but you can keep searching till you find the right image. So let's say I wanted a screen cap from Joker. I would search for Joker screen caps. Okay, these are all pretty cool. Again, I want high quality images. If people don't know this, the simplest thing to do is tools, size, and large. You are only going to get images in here now of the largest possible. Some of these are probably still going to be too small. Some of them, when you click on them, if I open this in a new thing now, it's going to be a shot of the shot. But rule of thumb, typically convert this, press large. That is what you want to do. I'm going to try and move through this quickly. But this is a website called ShotDeck. This is where I go for a lot of my images. They are a paid service. But if you are developing a deck, you can pay for it for a month. They have a monthly fee. So if you're ready to roll, pick a particular month when you're ready, sign up for a month, use it. The good thing here is you can search for anything. So say if you wanted a briefcase, I could spell briefcase, and it will give me a whole bunch of images where people have briefcases.
Oh, that's cool.
Some of them, yeah, from different films, from different eras, even if it's not, I mean, I don't know where the briefcase, oh, there it is. So again, or if you want to search for a specific film, you can search for 5 Days of Summer. Maybe they don't have that film. They don't have everything, but they have a lot. Or if I wanted all the Jake Gyllenhaal pictures, I can click on Jake Gyllenhaal, and what do you know? Look,
Oh, don't we all want all the Jake Gyllenhaal pictures?
Yeah. So that is that website. I also have bookmarked. I have Movie Stills database, which is Movie Stills DB. They are a paid service as well. They have even more photos. I think, I don't know where they're, I think they're $7 for 100 photos, which to me is pretty good. $7, you get 100 photos. Let's say we want Bill Murray, and it will click here. We have all these Bill Murray photos. You can sort via whatever film you want. You know, you want old Bill Murray, you want new Bill Murray, you can get whatever you want. It's going to help you a lot. And then what was the last thing? Oh, that was it. That's pretty much it. So yeah, at this point, I feel like everyone knows regular website. If you're searching for a cabin and woods, if you don't want to use images from other people's stuff, that's fine. I mean, but again, you can find some really cool, usable stuff.
Yep.
Okay, let's keep moving because we are nowhere near finished.
Okay, let's bust through this.
Okay. So which images to pick? I touched on it just then. Make sure you pick high quality images. Make sure the images match the tone of your project. So if you're doing horror, pick horror. If you're doing drama, pick drama. Simple as that. Again, pick films that look like the film you want to make. You know, try to pick images that match the tone of the project. So, or that flow with the text. So if you're talking about John who goes for a run, pick someone who's going for a run, you know, things like that. And the last thing here, if you're placing text over the top of images, make sure you pick images that have consistent lighting and contrast and space for your text. And we're going to run through that now. So here is examples of an image. This is a high quality image. This one is not. It's the same image. I just downloaded it at different qualities. And coming to this, you wouldn't like it. This is much better.
Yeah.
Okay. When we're talking, when I'm talking about contrast and lighting, I'm talking about this. So this has good lighting because the lighting behind the text is consistent. It's dark. It's all dark. There's little specks of light in there, but on the whole, the background is dark. I can put white text over the top of that and it works. I can see the whole thing. That is what you want. What you don't want is this, because what we have is contrasting light. We have the headlights are really bright, so you can't read the white text, but then you can read the white text when it's in the dark areas. That is not good. Yeah. This image doesn't work because it is both of those things. There is changing light. So in the spaces between whatever is behind this kid, there is parts that are light and parts that are dark. So you can read some of the text, you can't read other parts of the text. And then obviously in this image, I didn't, with the character being framed in the center, I couldn't fit the text in that space. So you want to pick images where you can fit the text around the characters or around whatever is happening. So we're about to move over to Canva in a second and do a bunch of stuff online, but here is the basic details of what I like to set up my pitch decks with. So I do all my designs in Photoshop and some stuff in InDesign, which gives me a lot more design freedom. I'm doing some, you know, photoshopping and cutting out characters and adding different overlays and stuff like that. For the purpose of this, that is very complicated and not everyone has Photoshop. So we're going to stick with using Canva, which is free, it's online.
Which is what I use.
Yeah, there you go. So we're going to go over to Canva. I'm already logged in because I have an account. The account is free. If you've never used Canva, then just sign up. There is also paid options. Again, I've never used a paid option in Canva, and you can do quite a lot of stuff for free. This, I believe, is our presentation. Yes, it is. So to get to this, I've already made this presentation, but if you are new and you wanted to start, all you need to do, they have templates. So for some reason, if you wanted to do a template that they already have, you'd go templates, presentations. They have various different things that have different styles. If you're really scared and something appeals to you, please feel free to pick one of their things. If you're looking to start from scratch, all you need to do, create design and presentation. And here you will see two options. I would personally always choose 1920 by 1080, yes, which is what is a typical laptop screen or a computer screen or a TV. 4:3 is the old, much squarer orientation. So let's say you've done that now. Look, we have a document. We're going to run through this. I think for a little bit, I'm going to do the, so when we look at this right now, I'm trying to do the most basic thing possible here. I'm trying to cover enough people being able to use this. So none of this is going to be complicated. If this is too basic for you, I'm sorry, but we were really trying to cover enough people being able to do their own designs. So some of this might be very obvious and some of it might be a little beneath you, but that is where we landed just because it will help everyone. So basic, do you want me to do this or should I just run into the presentation and we can?
I think just run through it. I think that people should go on Canva and, I mean, for the sake of time and getting to some questions, let's just run through it and you should go on Canva and play. Yeah. You know how to set something up, go on there and test out things and see what works and what doesn't. That's really the best way that you're going to get to do it. Okay.
So there might be 1 or 2 pages when I can stop and we'll run through stuff. So some things to note, keep it simple. If you aren't a designer, don't try to be. Do not overcrowd your pages with text. If I see, again, it's just daunting if you open a page and there's nothing but text. It's not good. Again, logical flow of information and use your images to establish your tone. Mm-hmm. So in terms of covers, keep it simple and establish tone. So this is where I will actually exit and we'll show some people some stuff. So this is simple. I'm not trying to tell you that this is a complicated design or anything. This is text. It's simply me going to the left here and going down and picking one of these super cool fonts that I saw. Here you go, this font that's called Now Showing. And I dragged it in and I made up a title off the top of my head. We called it End of Rock and Roll. Again, important thing here, I'm mentioning that this is a feature film. Somewhere in those first few pages, tell people what your project is.
It works on this page because you could confuse this with a documentary.
Yes.
You know, it could be something that, oh, is this a documentary? But I see feature pitch. Okay.
Yeah, cool. Again, the only thing I've done that isn't normal on this, I have dragged in an image. I put an image in, and again, it's either a filter or an effect. So they have all these preset effects that you can run. All I've done is put an effect over the top of that. It was nothing crazy, nothing complicated. But again, important thing here, space for text. Don't put text over people, don't put text in weird places. Pick an image that allows you to do that. Again, something I'm mentioning the format, and again, this is just text. I think people see something on a cover and think it's super complicated when it's not. Mm-hmm. And I also realized I'm in the wrong version of this. I'm going to exit for 2 seconds and open the other one. Yeah, short version, not this one. Which is great. Seeing I specifically called it not this one.
But at least you gave yourself a note because you forget.
So we're going to go back. So what I was I knew there was a page we'd missed. So this is an example of one of the covers for a client I'm working at the moment. You will notice none of the text on this says anything. It doesn't actually say words, apart from the fact that it's a docuseries. Again, establishing what the format is. But the idea here was that you would understand what this show is or what this is by looking at it. Mm-hmm. You understand the tone.
Yep.
And then we skip ahead and we're back to where we were. There we go. Again, simple. This is one single image. This is me subbing in text, which you can just do by adding it on the left here and writing stuff out. Again, back to that contrast thing. If I was to put this text here, that's not good. If I was to put this text here, that is not good. Make sure light is on dark and dark is on light. Okay, so now I think we're back to moving ahead. Okay, so this example here is a couple of things. This is all kinds of wrong. The number one thing is that the tone is wrong. So I made up a logline about a family that goes to the woods. I came up with this on the spot. It's not a real thing. But if I was to take that text away, would you know this was a horror film? And this is what I think people do a lot, is they pick an image of a cabin or of a certain thing and they say, there we go. I've established what my project is about. What you should do is something like this. And again, I know that's not a cabin. It's creepy and it's in the woods and it's much more directed at what the tone of your horror would be.
And you feel something.
And you feel something. That is the goal, is to feel something.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this is, I don't want people to think this is complicated. This is a single image. This is some text that I dropped in. This is a line that I put in. You go over here and you grab a line and you drag it in. And this is my pretend log line. Again, talking about matching images to text. I've picked someone who is clearly a soldier. And that is what my story is about. Use images to reflect what you're talking about.
Right.
This is another example of Canva use. So if I drag this away, you can't read any of this text. If I put it back, you can. That is the whole purpose of this. It's just me showing you that if you can't read something, add a text box. If that's all that's stopping you, pardon me, from being able to read something, again,
Put a box behind it.
Pardon?
Put a box behind it.
Put a box behind it. Yep. Again, this is my version of an old James Bond. I'm talking about a pretend logline, but you can match the character to what we're talking about. That's all you need to do.
Yep.
Okay. What do we have in terms of time? Should I keep going? We've got I
think characters are important. So let's talk about with characters about, I would just kind of go through this, but let's show those pictures of how much information, not enough information, putting the actor pictures, if you have celebrities that you want versus just putting one picture. Okay,
cool. So briefly on this, keep your text clear and concise. If you can say less stuff in less words, you should do it.
Yeah.
Again, talking about cutting out minor characters that don't influence your overall plot. If you can cut a character and someone reads your deck and they still are just as excited about it, you don't need to have them in there.
Yeah, you don't need all
okay, so this is what Shana was just talking about. My preference for, if you don't have actors attached, and if you are not a known production company that knows that they can attach Ryan Reynolds to their project, you should be using your deck to establish character. And what that means is that you are just trying to, again, I've said it in this character description, if your lead character is a female lawyer in her 30s, pick a picture that establishes that. A picture of Margot Robbie, and then you say this is a lawyer. If she doesn't look like she's a lawyer, then the image of her is moot. It doesn't help tell your story. So that is my advice, is pick character images that match what you were talking about. The same as if you're trying to finance a $500,000 film and you put a photo of Bruce Willis and you say, this is the actor we're trying to get, people are going to go, well, how? Because he's more than your entire budget. It doesn't make sense. And I think I was going to talk about this a lot more, but I forgot. My advice is always talk to your reps. Talk to your reps, talk to your reps. If you are someone who is taking a project out, you should be building your projects with your reps. Anyway, they should know what the market looks like. They should know where to be taking it, all the rest of it. Talk to your reps and
An
hear what
example
they
of
have to
that
say.
would be if you're going to, if you have a project and you're building a deck and you know you're going to go to Netflix and maybe it's like a YA show, right? And you want to put actor comps in it. Think about shows that Netflix does, that you can put some Netflix actors that Netflix likes and are successful on Netflix. Choose to put those kinds of people in your deck versus somebody who's, more obscure or really, really famous who you're never going to get. So you just have to be realistic in terms of like where you're at with your project.
Yeah, that is that. So this is, again, I'm not trying to make this complicated. This is very simple. I don't want to rate my experience. This is one image and a yellow box, text line, text line. For reference, I'm just trying to show people how many words are on a page. This is didn't mean to do that. I meant to that is 109 words. I've seen people come to me with 500 words for a character description and think it's going to fit on a page. And it could, but we don't have time for this right now, do we? No, okay. It won't fit. So when you get to your minor characters, what you'll notice here is I have less text. Again, the whole point of this presentation is to show what images can do. This is all fake text. It's lorem ipsum fake text. But you can look at those two characters and you can go, oh, I can sort of see who the guy on the left is, and I can sort of see what the character on the right is. And all you would need is a description, and people would understand who these people were. Again, a different way to approach a character on a page. This is just one single image based on the background. This is text and a heading. And again, I don't know who this character is. I mean, I know it's a guy from Ozark, but you get a feel for who this character is. And I would say the best thing you can do is lean in to characters from shows or from movies who have a particular aura or aesthetic about them.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we do get to the idea of casting, this guy is John Awesome. That's his name. He is super awesome. And so you'll notice I made up a first two sentences. John is a man-child, forever stuck in his youth, parties, one-night stands, and no sign of getting his life together anytime soon. You can see that in this guy. I think that's from, what's that? That's actually a film with Emma.
Crazy Stupid Love.
Yeah, but you understand who he is. You understand that looking at him, reading that, and then reading whatever the rest of his description is, you would understand who he is. That to me is more important than if I put a different photo of Ryan Gosling in there. If I put a photo of Ryan Gosling from like, was it Drive?
Yeah.
Where he looks like a crazy killer, that's not going to that's going to be conflicting with what he, and then, casting at the bottom is, for this particular role, you'll notice at the top, I said male, any ethnicity, and 30s. I know that a lot of those guys are probably not in their 30s, but you get the gist. If you're trying to cast for a wide range, include a wide range of people.
Yep.
Okay, this is what Shana was talking about, where we say, what's your word count? Again, this is 336 words. I could squish that down a little more. I could possibly condense some stuff and make it look like it's smaller, but you need to know that people need to read it as well. And if people look at a page and see 400 words, it's going to look like this, and it's going to be daunting, and they are not going to want to read it.
You have that many words about your character, you need to edit.
Yeah.
Edit.
Yeah. Cool. Comps. Should you have comps? Again, so talking about the Stranger Things deck at the start, they referenced their comps in an interesting way. They said it's these feelings from these different movies. If they didn't talk about those movies at the very start, you would not understand their deck the same way.
Yep.
I think there is some instances where you need to mention comps, where you need to say my film is like X, Y, Z, because it helps. Do you need a full page where you have the pictures of the covers? Maybe, maybe not. Again, this is all annoying and everything is subjective and caveats and stuff, but that
if you're
is,
trying to make an independent movie that has a budget of nothing, then a good way to do that is with comps for budget. Like you're like, well, but find ones that are successful.
yeah,
Ones that made their money back. Don't go put in 3 movies that nobody knows what they are, because what you're saying is, hi, I want to make this movie and it's not going to make any money. Like these ones. So.
Yep. There we go. Tone and style. So the only thing I want to say on this is that a lot of times people mention tone and style, and it's talking in circles, or it's talking, again, the examples I've used here, it's funny or it's scary or it's suspenseful. Okay, what is making it those things? And then you'll notice at the bottom there, I referenced the difference between like a slasher and a suspense horror. So you could talk about your slasher being suspenseful, but it's going to be different than, in a way, a suspense horror is going to be, you know, if it's something where you don't ever see the killer and it's a monster that's in the shadows the entire film, you need to talk about how you create suspense around that, versus a slasher where he's going to come out and kill 15 people in the course of a whole movie. Again, talking about locations, and I saw someone talking about this on Twitter earlier today, so I think it's very timely that we have it on here as well. If you are pitching an independent film, locations are important. Locations can help you sell your film. If you know that you can shoot in 3 locations in rural Texas over 21 days, that is helpful to sell your film, because every time you move location, you are costing money. Every time you have to start over, you are costing money. It's also worth noting that if you can shoot in different states, they will offer you different rebates. And that is just ways to get money back. It's also good for investors. Visuals and mood. The one note I would have here is, if you're trying to do visual pages, people aren't going to study every individual image, and you should try and capture a specific aesthetic. So I didn't mean to do that either. So again, I've put these together real quickly. Again, if it's a war film, a bunch of different things that illustrate different aspects. You get the idea. This page here, I picked, you know, visual images that all have a very similar feel. And then if we are looking at team pages, again, I said at the start, team pages are where I mean, in the industry, teams is how you win and build shows and films. You attach a director who attaches a producer, who attaches more actors, who attaches a studio that attaches blah, blah, blah. Like, it's, you know, if you have anything at all that's going to carry some weight, if you've won some film festivals, or if you've entered some film festivals and placed, if you've directed something, anything, that shows that you have experience. If you went to film school, that shows you have experience. Anything that you or the people involved can highlight is really, really going to, you know, boost your project in terms of people being interested in it.
Yep.
Again, this is me making up a page. I apparently won a bunch of fake festivals. I talked about, you know, I have a little bio on myself. I talk about who I am. Or if you've got multiple people involved, split your pages. If you want to link people back to your website or back to your films, because, you know, if they've bothered to read your whole deck and they've gotten to this point where they can read that, you know, you're telling them about yourself, they're probably interested to some degree. It would be helpful if they can get to who you are and what you've done before. So I think we got, what do we got left?
If you don't want to do a page like that and a contact page, you can combine those and put your contact information at the bottom if you have room. But. Yeah.
So I've also done that before. So say if I only had a bio this short, I could put my biography on half a page And on the other half, on the right-hand side here, if this Bill Jams guy wasn't there, I would take him away and put info about myself.
Durnford King is asking, is it possible to send a pitch deck that has animated content?
I have recently had some, like, animated as in animations.
I think.
I had another client who wanted to do that as well. There is websites that will host pitch decks, not just for film and TV, that will host pitch decks for businesses as well. And they will allow you to put different pages where you can have a video automatically play, or you can have different things play. As far as I know, they are mostly paid.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the name of the service my client was going to use, but it's definitely, like, the standard format is a PDF. It's just, here is my PDF.
Simple, yeah.
Yeah.
Al is asking, can we make pitch decks in PowerPoint? Yes, you can.
Yep. Yeah. So I would go back to that, the last slide we had, which was just, it listed all the different places. You can do it in Canva, in PowerPoint, in Google Slides, in Keynote, if you're a Mac user, InDesign, Photoshop.
Yep, whatever works for you. This is a good one. What's the biggest red flag in pitch decks that screams amateur?
Too much text, or too much text and structure. Just if I can't understand the premise of your project in the first 3 pages, if I have to get to page 10 for you to tell me before I understand, that would be the biggest red flag, is that I'm just reading and reading and reading and not understanding it.
Right. Leslie's asking, should you send a pitch deck in the first contacting email? Absolutely not. Do not attach anything to any emails to anybody who you do not know, who do not know you, who didn't ask for something to be sent.
Yeah.
There we go. Jamie, Luke, have you ever made a pitch deck for a writer who's trying to persuade an author or celebrity to release their life story IP to the screenwriter? Would you recommend doing that? I've made one, and I'm making a second one for a client now. I haven't heard follow-up on whether where it's gone. So the first one was for a musical person, and they, as far as they've passed away, and their life rights are with their family at this point. So they're trying to persuade the family that making a movie about them would be a good idea. And I don't, that was 6 months ago, and I don't actually know what stage they're at, but as everyone knows, everything in this industry takes a very long time. Right.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you can do it well and you need to butter up that person or get them to look at you seriously or professionally, then yeah, make one.
Yeah, I mean, I would make sure you have contact with them first.
Sure.
Like this person was producing with someone who works at Live Nation, the music present, so the Live Nation had an in with the family. So I would make sure you can get it to them first. Is
it correct to think that the visual pages are interspersed throughout the deck?
Yes. It's on the deliverables we have. I guess I know we started really. I know we started running through this very quickly because I had a lot of information here, but on the PDF you guys will get, it covers that you should. What are we just talking about? disperse your visual.
I mean, if you want to do a page that's just an image, do it. If that feels right to you, and that is like something, sometimes what I do is if we want to break it up a little bit, we'll just do one page that only says, like, the next thing you're going to see, it just says character descriptions. And then we get to the characters. If you want to break it up a little bit, you can, if you have time. Just if your deck's already 30 pages, probably don't do that. No one wants to go to 30.
Throw half of it away if it's 30 pages.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Eva's asking about format. We went through that. 16:9 is the best way to do deck. We did that one. Do we include every character? No, we got to that. We talked about that. Are NDAs required for deck reviewers? No.
I mean, if you're talking to someone, What do you mean, deck reviewers? Or you're
Like if
sending
you're
it?
sending out your deck, do you send an NDA?
I mean, the whole thing is if you would have a chain of, at this point, you have a chain of information. You have an email that says,
Mhm.
I agreed to
Yeah.
view this. So at that point, the producer or whoever you're sending it to has agreed to view it. So they know there is a trail back to you. I sign NDAs with my clients because that's what makes them feel safe. If I didn't, they probably wouldn't work with me.
Don is asking about, are we leaving the pitch deck with a potential producer or buyer? Is it meant to share or to take with you when you exit each meeting? And could a pitch deck be created as a web page on the writer's site, or is it better to keep it as a printable document? So the first one, I would say it depends. Sometimes if they ask you when you're done with a meeting, do you have any materials to leave behind? Then that's up to you. If you have that and you want to leave it with them, that's, it's a good thing to have.
Yeah.
Because they're ultimately taking your pitch to somebody else. So if they can have that as a companion, as materials to reference to be able to go pitch it to their boss, great. Better for you.
Yeah.
And then what do you think about creating a pitch deck as a web page?
I don't know about as a web page. I mean, I've seen websites for films that have yet to be produced, as well as, so sometimes people who are making, who are doing Kickstarter campaigns or who are doing Indiegogo campaigns, they will create a website for their, and that to me feels more like, it's not so much a pitch deck as it is it's a website about your movie.
Yeah, I think they're saying like if they made one on their own web. So if they have a website for them as a writer, if they created a visual like on WordPress, or maybe it looks like a blog, more like a blog. Yeah. I mean, I would say you want something that you do have able to attach as a PDF. I mean, you could put that on your website as a, on your site, but then everyone can see it. One, and do you want everyone in the world who goes to your website to be able to see that? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I do know a lot of people who have, well, not a lot, but I've seen some people who have, when they have their own website, they have, these are my projects. I have feature film scripts, A, B, C, and D. Here's a sample of the script. Here's the pitch deck for the script. And I don't know. Yeah. I don't really work with that many independent writers. I'm mostly working with production companies or directors and producers who are taking projects out. So in that case, they keep them fairly close to their chest because they're not trying to give the whole industry their info.
Yeah. Can I include my own photography in the pitch deck? Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
If it works for what your project is, that's amazing. And make sure you tell them that that's your own photography. Should you copyright your pitch deck?
I don't think you can, unless you, I mean, because let's say if you took all your own photos for your pitch deck and they were all your original images, you could copyright it, I guess. I think really know.
Would copyright your script. Copyright that. Then your pitch deck is a supporting material to that script.
Yeah, I mean, again, one of the caveats in my contract with people is that they cannot, they won't share their pitch deck publicly because it's not copyrightable, because the images are already copyrighted by studios X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would a section on why I think my show will be a hit be worth including? We did talk about that. I think a why now. I think probably that title wouldn't necessarily work, but if you massage it a little bit, and it is important to tell them why now, why it's important.
Yeah, I would rephrase that maybe as why this show, or something that's yeah. Something that's a little.
So people are asking, let's see. Is it common for animated pitch decks to use existing images from other shows or films, or is it necessary to create new art of the characters and the world? Or, I mean, I can answer this one too, because I've created animated decks. I think it's both. I think that if you can find a really good image that works and it fits in there, the thing to, if you're going to pull images and not have somebody draw something specifically for you for your project, just make sure, especially in animation, don't mix 2D images and 3D images if your show's a 2D show or a 3D show. Don't put flat images and 3D images in a deck if you know specifically you want it to be a certain way. That's confusing. So I think it could go either way.
Yeah. I've the several animated decks I've done we've always had character illustrations at least. So we've had, maybe they didn't have backgrounds. They didn't have settings, but they had the characters, and we found usable backgrounds to place those characters in to make the whole presentation seem interesting.
Yeah, and you can actually find animator or people, artists who will work with you for pretty inexpensive fee. It's actually, you can find people that are excited to create a couple characters for you. In your deck. Let's see. People want to know how much you charge, and you don't have to say, but you could, how to reach you, and how long it takes normally to get a pitch deck made if you do hire a professional.
So I have heard all kinds of things. For myself, I don't share my prices online because there is so many varying factors. I like to talk to people first and see what they are looking for. In terms of turnaround, for me personally, it all depends on length. Someone could come to me and say, I need a 6-page pitch deck by tomorrow. And I could say, sure, I can do that. My go-to is a 2-week turnaround from my soonest date that I'm free. So at the moment, I'm booked up for the next 2 weeks, which means that in 2 weeks' time, I could start your job, and then it would be 2 weeks after that I would finish it. I'm usually juggling 6 to 8 jobs at a time. I mean, ultimately, we were hoping to. This has obviously gone on longer than we anticipated. We were really hoping to spend a lot more time in Canva, just kind of making stuff, and I guess what I thought would happen happened, and I dawdled and waffled at the start, and we got to the end, and we didn't really get to do the presentation side of it and making your own. But
I think so. I think we're done with questions, but just to hold on. Can you use celebs you want as casting suggestions? Yes, you can absolutely use celebs as casting suggestions, but just understand if you're doing a low budget movie or something, don't put Julia Roberts in it. You know what I mean? Like, be consistent with what you could get for what you're trying to do. Don't go after top A-list. Find somebody, like if you want to do a gritty independent movie and you're going out there, find really cool actors that are up and coming, that are recognizable, but like are cool and interesting, and put them in there if that's what you want to do. Luke, you are amazing. Thank you for putting together this whole presentation. I think that even though we sort of ran out of time a little bit, I think it was just full of so much great information, and hopefully we get people out there just starting to build their own and explore and play.
Not a problem. Yeah. On that, if anyone does want to reach out, I left my website in the chat. It is viciousandco.com. Or I am also on Twitter. It is just my name, which is Luke Sharp like in pointy. So yeah, feel free to shoot me messages. I enjoy talking about this stuff. I'm very busy with work, but I love meeting new people, and I love my job. So yeah, feel free to reach out with questions. I will answer what I can.
We saw in the chat, someone said do a part 2 that's a little bit more advanced. So maybe down the line, if you guys reach out and say that you liked this and you're ready for a part 2, maybe we'll put together a part 2.